And let's get out our chants. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vedyadravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanao Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, your assignment, memorize these so that we cannot have to stop. And when you chant using your eye, there we go, I was turning it the wrong way. It involves a different part of the brain than when you just chant it. So, do your best to memorize it. And next week, if you stumble along, that's quite all right. But do try. Do try. Before we get directly into the text, on the first lesson, I asked if everybody was meditating, and everybody said yes. So I have not spent much time talking about meditation on maybe some tips or things like that. First of all, of those of you who are here, who is now meditating daily for at least 20 minutes? I can't see. Is there anybody not raising their hand?
No.
Okay. You won't get the benefits of the work unless you put the work in. It's that simple. It's like buying a gym membership and never going to the gym. Anybody ever done that? I spent all this money and I still am not in good shape. Did you go to the gym? No. But I bought the gym membership. So just having an intellectual appreciation of the work is only part of it. It's what we call paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge. But we also want aparoksha jnanam, direct experience. You must do that. So do your best to recommit to that. So, do we have any questions about meditation, what you're doing, what seems to be working, what doesn't seem to be working? I heard the most wonderful metaphor today. Before we start spiritual practice, it's like we're driving a truck and the whole back of the truck is filled with manure. And once we start spiritual practice, it's like slamming on the brakes and all the manure comes forward. So it is not uncommon when we start to meditate that all sorts of things start to arise. It's the unloading of the unconscious. It's the stuff we've been avoiding by busyness, by distraction, by drugs or alcohol or movies or Netflix or Grinder and Tinder and whatever those things are. We have all sorts of ways of not being present. Meditation allows what's unconscious to become conscious. The technical term in the tradition is kashaya. Swamiji used to say the vomiting up of the unconscious tendencies, but it means the unloading that they come up. So anybody want to talk about their experience, any insights they've had or not had? Okay. Let me review one of the most important principles with meditation. The grosser the mind, the more meditative supports we need. So by gross, we mean I have a greater frequency and volume of thought and feeling. So I need more supports. You can have a mala, chant the name of the Lord out loud. Maybe have a meditation app that's a guided meditation. You know, these are modes for people whose minds are still very tamasic and rajasic, very active. As the mind gets quieter, we drop the supports away. Once we've got a bit of what we call chitta shuddhi, who can tell me what that is?
Purity of the mind.
Hmm?
Purity of the mind.
Purity of mind, yes. Then we can begin the process of inquiry into the self, which is one of the major things we've been working on. Who am I? Who am I? What's my essential nature? Then, after the mind starts to get absorbed, established, introverted within, don't let it extrovert into the world. Keep it introverted. Now, that's very hard. In the beginning, we may only be able to do it for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. Then we let the mind be ordinary mind. Just practice. Those of you who may have been on, I know in a Zen retreat, when I used to do them, it would happen where you'd have like 45 minutes of sitting and then you'd have 10 minutes of walking in a circle. Has anybody ever been on a retreat where they do that?
Mm.
And you practice meditation in action, keeping the mind poised. As the mind becomes more subtle, then we just dwell in silence. And as thoughts and feelings arise, we just notice them. If we get caught up in a story, a theme of thinking, we might go back to a mantra, bring the mind back, and then we can drop it again. Once the mind has attained some equilibrium, some peace, don't disturb it. Now, some traditions suggest that we do complex meditations, endeavoring to visualize a god or a goddess, etc. Nothing wrong with that. But in the Jnana Yoga tradition, it is neti neti, not this, not. Swamiji used to talk about when he was a child, they had a mandir, a little uh, altar in the home, and there was a statue of Lord Shiva. And he, as a kid, just naturally would close his eyes and try to visualize Lord Shiva just as he looked like in the mandir. So he was led to what we call upasana, a form of worship. That's fine. That's fine. But at some point, all external phenomena has to go. So a yogi wants to be able to diagnose her mind. Self-inquiry may not be working for you if you're really upset and triggered. You may need to hang on to the feet of the deity and chant the Lord's name. But if your mind is really quiet, you may be quieter than a mantra. Drop the mantra. Meditation is not a time for problem solving. It is possible to get intuitive answers to life's questions. That's a different practice. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not meditation. Any thoughts or questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Somya.
So I like how you distinguish between like when your mind is rajasic and tamasic, and then sometimes it's quiet. I don't have to do the mantra. But what happens is when it's quiet and say there's a bit of peace, I I want it to go deeper.
Ah,
So I myself create this desire or this, I create these waves. It was a little quiet and that wasn't good enough. I wanted
you
to go.
have to have acceptance of what is. The
Mhm,
process is always one of renunciation.
mhm, mhm,
It's never about acquisition.
mhm. That's good.
Is that clear?
Yes, yeah, yes,
So
that makes
what you
sense.
have, no blame, you have a desire for a more sattvic mind state.
Mhm,
And your ego is telling you, I need to like concentrate harder or do something to get deeper. And you've made deeper an object of desire.
exactly.
Yeah. So what do we do when a desire arises? The ego says getting what I want will make me happy.
Right.
Yoga says the suffering is the desiring.
Mhm,
Do my best to let go of the desiring.
mhm,
And another good technique is, to whom is this desire occurring to? To me. I'd use to twice. To whom is it occurring? To me. Go. Who am I?
mhm.
Always bring the attentive faculty back to the subject. Now, some of us have read a very wonderful book called I Am That by Nisargadatta Maharaj. Great mid-20th century saint, lived in Bombay. Very simple man. And it's all questions and answers. And one of his disciples asked him if he were in samadhi all the time. And his answer was, of course not. Samadhi is of value because in samadhi, it reveals the no thingness of my essential nature. But it's a mind state. Unless you drop dead, which happens to some people when they enter samadhi, the mind returns. So Krishna in Gita has this verse that seems contradictory. He says, "O Arjuna, be you ever beyond the gunas." And then he says, "And then ever remain in the sattvic state." Well, make up your mind. Sattva was one of the gunas. Am I supposed to be in sattva or am I supposed to be beyond the gunas? And the way to resolve the doubt is this: the self is not a mind state. The self is the illuminator, the knower of all mind states. I watch tamas, rajas, sattva circle. Now, if you want to maximize happiness, which is a mind state, maximize sattva. How do I maximize sattva? An intense spirit of renunciation, mature vairagya. Let's review the definition of vairagya that Shankara gives us. This is in Vivekachudamani, not in this text. That desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. The experiences, you cannot avoid them. It's not about going to live in a cave. It's the attachment that's the problem. And the desire to give up any personal sense of self, starting with the body up to and including the form of Brahma, the creator, meaning I want to be a powerful being or a holy being. That's another good one. Always viveka vairagyacha. That's the first two things in becoming a fit student. We talked about that. And up to the most subtle stages. Viveka vairagyacha. Is that useful, Somya?
Yes, yes. It's all very helpful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right. Any other questions about practice? Depth of meditation is more important than length. Now listen carefully. You're meditating 20, 30, 40 minutes, and you have moments of real quiescence. You're doing very well. I don't know why this is, but for some reason, it takes about 20 minutes for most people for the mind to really just settle down. So back in the art of meditation class, we started 5 minutes every day. Then move it up to 10 minutes every day. 15, then 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes. Do I need to meditate 4 or 5 hours a day? If you're called to it as a long-term lifestyle, probably not. You may be avoiding life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But an hour a day is marvelous. But at least 20 minutes. You don't have to do your hour a day all in one sit. You can meditate it in 3 20-minute sections. One of my favorite mystics, a Westerner by the name of Joel Goldsmith, advocated short but frequent periods of meditation.
But it's not different when you do for 1 hour straight.
I didn't understand that.
It's
But
not different when you do straight 1 hour.
each person works it out for themselves. Depends on your life, what your time demands are, etc. But if you're going to meditate for an hour straight, that's fine. I like long meditations. All right. Any other thoughts on meditation? Okay, what verse are we on, Mark?
For July 24.
24. Will you help us out, please, Sound?
प्रकाशोऽर्कस्य तो यस्य शैत्यामग्नेर्यतोष्णता स्वभाव सच्चिदानन्दा
Yes.
नित्या निर्मलमनः. Just as luminosity is the nature of the sun, coolness is that of water, and heat is that of fire, so too the nature of the Atman is eternity, purity, existence, consciousness, and bliss.
Yes. So what is the swabhava, the nature, or the dharma of something? Dharma, it's a word, it's a beautiful word in Sanskrit. It's the nature or the essence of a thing, without which it would not be the thing that it is. Swabhava, swa means self, bhava means being or nature. So what is the being? It's the nature of the sun to be prakasha, light. What was the second one? I forget. I'm having a senior moment here.
Coolness is that of water.
Yes, yes, it's its nature to be cool. Running water is cool. And then what was the last one? Fire, to burn.
Heat is that of fire.
Yeah. So what is the nature of myself? Satchidananda Rupa. Let's go through these terms. Now they point, they indicate, they do not define. In the end, the nature of the self is avyapadesha. Upadesha means to talk about things or to teach. Upadesha is to not talk about stuff. When you mush them together, the U in Upadesha turns to a V, and it's the Sunday rules, they call it. So it's Avyapadesha, indescribable, untalkable. but we get pointing. Now, this is a meditation verse. What do we do with a verse like this? That's your book next to you. So you go into meditation and you tune up the mind. And then when you get to this descriptor of the self, you take each turn and then you take the attentive faculty and turn it within. Notice the knower. And in the space between the thoughts, see if it's true about you. So what's the first idea?
The nature of the Atman is eternity.
And what's the word in Sanskrit?
Uh,
Yeah.
Eternity is
What's he used there?
it's just a big Sachidananda Nitya Nirmala.
Yes. So we'll take it in the order of the Sanskrit. Satchidananda Nitya. So Sat, pure existence. You are always you. How do you know you are you? I don't know, I just do. That's right. I do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think myself. I may have all those ideas about myself, but the pure experience of I, of ising, how do I know it? I don't know, I just am. That's right. You are Swayambhu, self-evident. This is why when people say, oh, Jim, 20 years ago, I met Guru Shmuru and I had an experience of the self, but I've lost it. Or those of us who may have been rascals, oh, I took LSD and the whole world was merged into the infinite. And I've always been trying to get back there. Now, whatever it is you experience, and I'm sure it's very wonderful, but that's not it. When are you ever not you? Oh, Jim, I woke up this morning and I wasn't. You sure? Yes. To whom did that wasn't occur? Oh, to me. Then you must have been there. So you cannot ever lose yourself. Even the most miserable of creatures. I like to walk around the lake sometimes, and there are these poor, unhoused people who live in a bush. I would go up to one and say, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm very miserable today. I'm so sorry. Do you exist? What a stupid question. Of course I exist. Well, what's your existence? Idiot, I'm living in a bush and I don't have any money. I'm homeless. Do you know you're living in a bush and homeless? You are really crazy, dude. Of course I do. I am. Even the most miserable of creatures never doubts. Only the Shunyavadins. This is a particular school of Buddhism who say that awareness itself is transient. And someone can have an experience of awareness itself ceasing to exist. And it's completely unverifiable. Do you exist? No, I don't exist. And you've experienced that? Oh, yes, I experienced it. Well, if you weren't there, then to whom did the experience happen? You can't deny. I. You cannot deny Sat, your own existence. Now, what that existence is, we can have a whole bunch of doubts about. So our poor fellow living under the bush may have all sorts of ideas about himself, but he does not doubt that he is. Any questions on this? And if you look back through your life, your body has changed, your living situation has changed, circumstances change, finances change, housing changes, the environment changes, relationships change. But you are always there. That brings us to the second term, chit, which is pure awareness, pure consciousness. You are a sentient being. The self is not an it. The self is a who. Now, we have a wonderful verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's chapter 2, verse 16, where Vyasa, our author, plays with two words, Sat and Bhava. We talked a bit about Bhava, means being. Sat is existence. So normally we think of the world that things that are Sat and things that are imaginary, Asat. Chair is, the table is, the sofa is. The child of a barren woman isn't. The castle in the clouds, just imagination. Once upon a time stories, imagination, fantasy. Understand existence and non-existence. We can have an imaginary something, but it has no Sat. It is Asat. Set that on the shelf. We also tend to separate the world into things and beings. The chair is a thing, the table is a thing, Soundarya is a being, Lara is a being. The dogs and the frogs and the worms and the germs are being. Now, what Gita says is only being, Baba, really exists. If it has no being, it has no real existence. The knowers of the wisdom of the truth know the difference. Only being actually exists. This is an incredibly profound verse. What's the nature of that being? Bhava being, chit, sentience. It is awareness. I can say I have a hand, I have a foot, I have a nose, but I can't say I have awareness. I am aware of my hand. I am aware of my foot. I am aware of my nose. But is awareness awareness one, aware of awareness two? I do not know awareness as a possession, as an object. You do not have awareness. You are aware. It is the inherent nature of the subject. Satchidananda. Oh, Ananda is translated as bliss absolute. Now, this is tricky. I never doubt that I am. I never doubt that I shine as the light of awareness. But, Jim, I'm not blissful all the time. Sometimes I'm miserable. So, what does that imply? The self is constant and never changes. So, therefore, what I think bliss is can't be what it is. Sometimes I'm happy, but sometimes I'm unhappy. Isn't that your experience? Yes, no?
Yes.
So, what does Ananda mean? The place to start with, no sorrow reaches there. Physical pain gets as far as my body. Emotional upset and disturbance, triggers we call them, get as far as my mind. Doubt and confusion and delusion get as far as my intellect. But I am a still point. No sorrow touches me. Well, then why do we call it Satchit Shunyata? Why do we say Satchit Ananda? Because the self is the fountainhead, the wellspring of a happy mind. So let's review. What is my sorrow? And what is the respite from sorrow? What does it feel like to want something I do not have? It can be something very gross, like I want my headache to go away, or I need a new car, or I need a new job, or I hate the politics, or I'm upset because they're killing people in Gaza. So, what does it feel like to want something I don't have? That is the essence of my suffering. It occurs in three forms. Raga, my passion, my attachment for something. Dvesha, aversion. I don't like what's here and I want to get rid of it. And bhaya, bhaya means fear. I may be okay right now, but I'm afraid of something in the future. I project my loss into the future. I'm at the top of the ski jump and I'm terrified. Ah, what are you afraid of? It's so scary going down that ski jump. Are you okay right now? Yes. What are you afraid of? When I hit the end of the ski jump, I'm going to go skydiving. I can't go skydiving. It's too scary. Why? I'm afraid of falling. Are you falling right now? No. It's always in the future. So when the mind is in that state of kama, craving, dvesha, aversion, bhaya, fear, Krishna, the Buddhists like to use that word, thirsting, vancha, wanting, spriha, longing. That hurts. When I satisfy the desire, when desire and object of desire become one for a moment, the craving, the longing, the thirsting is gone. The mind, as it were, comes home. It's like the waves of the ocean just going. I call that happiness. I call that fun. I call that joy. That is the blissful mind. In my ignorance, I think the bliss is inherent in the object. But actually, I've just used the object to momentarily induce a state free from longing. Now, for most of us, as soon as I satisfy that desire, another one arises. If you want to get in-depth teaching about this, may I recommend a book called Panchadashi, which merely means 15 chapters, by a saint named Vidyaranya. And the last 5 chapters are all on ananda, on bliss. He goes to Vasanananda, the bliss of deep sleep, Vishayananda, the bliss that we get through the satisfaction of a desire with the sense objects, and then Brahmananda, the fact that when the mind comes home, the mind becomes blissful. In a sense, you could say the mind becomes no mind. If we want to define the mind as that jonesing, that extroversion. Now, the clearest example of this I can use is the person who's hitting themselves on the head with a hammer. Jim, why are you hitting yourself on the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop. That's you and me. I want more money. I want a better job. I want my different relationship. I want the politics to be different. I want the way people treat each other to be different. More better, different, more better, different. Aha, I got a better job. Uh, yeah, but what about the politics? New candidate. Ah, not realizing it's the longing itself which causes the suffering. Now, this whole teaching directly addresses, if I may, Sonia, about your doubt earlier. When we start to desire deeper meditative states or siddhis, spiritual powers. Now listen very carefully. Ego's last attachment and strategy. I want to be a saint. I want to be a realized person. There's a very famous Buddhist saying, if you meet the Buddha on the road, what do? kill him. That doesn't mean you take an axe murder to some dude who thinks he's enlightened. It means if you're trying to be a particular kind of person, even a spiritual person, that has to go. Don't try to be an enlightened person. Realize you are Brahman. Other people can have all sorts of stupid ideas about you. That's none of our business what other people think of us. But you stay with the truth. You are Brahman. So I keep this image here on the table. Can you in Zoomland see it?
Yeah,
Zoomies, can you see it?
yes.
Yes. What is it? This is Hanuman embracing Lord Rama. In the story in the Ramayana, Hanuman is Ram's sidekick. And he doesn't realize he has all these fantastic powers, and he's told he does. And then he flies through the air and he can carry big mountains and all this sort of stuff. Hanuman is the mind. And Hanuman is a monkey because we hear the term monkey mind. If you've ever been in India, around the temples and stuff like that, you see the monkeys. Constant chattering, constant in motion, and incredibly greedy and grasping. That's my mind, that's your mind. But look at his face. He is so satisfied. Why is he satisfied? Because he's in the embrace of Rama. Rama is another name for the self. So the mind becomes blissful when it can abide in the self. How does it do that? Give up attachment to the world. So we call the self bliss absolute ananda. Because when the mind comes home, it is blissful. Shankara will use the term Atmaramana. Ramati is the root that means to revel. So Rama is reveling. Ramana Maharshi he is the great saint who revels. So Atmaramana are those moments when the mind can abide in the self. Now, we talked a bit about Vidyaranya and his text, Panchadashi. He has a phrase that I just love. Brahmananda Rasa Swad. So we have some Hindi speakers. What does swad mean?
Taste,
And what is rasa?
juice,
And ananda
happiness.
is, and Brahman, the self, tasting the juice, the bliss of Brahman. understand that's a mind state. Many of these deep samadhis are not to be achieved by mere will or effort. To a large degree, they're karmic. In fact, if you're struggling to get a deeper mind state, then the very act of jonesing for it, struggling, is self-defeating. It's like trying to stomp on the head of your shadow. It keeps receding. So if you would like a deeper experience of the tasting of your own self-nature, it's not about gripping the mind into silence. It's always vairagya, sannyasa, renunciation, tyaga, abandon the world, abandon the mind itself. Now, going after the world, we don't make judgments. But everything in the world is temporary. Not only that, my mind is always changing in terms of the world. Then you get the phenomenon of diminishing returns. One chocolate, nice. If I eat the whole jar, ugh. I love what Swamiji used to say about sex. If sex were satisfying, we'd only do it once. And many of us may have been through it or have friends who have gotten caught up in the addictive tendency of the mind when it extroverts into the world. And there's the socially inappropriate ones, drugs, alcohol, gambling, inappropriate sex. But there are ones that our society lauds: ambition, financial success, power. We laud those. So these three pointers, indicators, Satchidananda. Then Nityam is the next one.
Yes.
Nitya means eternal. There are two words which in English seem similar, but in Sanskrit are very different. We have Puranam or Sanatanam, which means ancient or really old. And then over here we have Nitya, which means eternal. Now, the self also is Puranam. It is also very old. But here he's used Nityam, eternal. It always is. And it always is in the now. The past is only memory. The future is only conjecture. What is the eternal now. And what was the last idea? There was one more, I think.
Nirmal,
Hmm?
Nirmala.
Nirmala. Malam is a taint, dirt. So the self is absolutely pure. It is like space. The body can get dirty. I can have a dirty mind. I can have vicious or vengeful thoughts. But myself is vast and empty like space. Now, many people get caught up in trying to make the bodies, the equipment, pure. And they think that's what I need to do to be a super goody-goody. Now, that can be useful because it helps to purify the mind. But we need to understand that the equipment is by definition finite. It always has malam, taint. But you are outside of the body, mind, intellect. You are already Vishuddham, extremely pure. So having this shift away helps, because if you're trying to be a goody-goody, there's always this self-observation on my shoulder. How am I doing? And its companion, what do they think of me? And that's very painful. It's very painful. Get out of the mind. Get out of the equipment. Identify with yourself. Satchidananda Nityam Nirmalam. Is that all the pieces of that verse?
Yeah.
Beautiful meditation verse. And again, what do? Take each idea, have the book next to you when you're meditating, when your mind settled down. See if you are not pure existence. Don't let it just be an idea. See if you are not pure awareness. And again, start with this understanding of Ananda. No sorrow touches me. See if you are always the same. Nityam. See if you are without dirt, without a taint. All right, next verse. Oh my God, I really got wound up.
Atmana Satchida Shascha Buddhe Vritti Riti Dvayam Samyojya Jak Vivekena Jnanamiti Pravartate. By the indiscriminate bleeding of the two, the existence consciousness aspects of the self, and the thought wave of the intellect, there arises the notion of I know.
Yes. So the superimposition, where does it take place? It takes place in the intellect. We went back and talked about the pancha kosha, the five sheaths. So it's in the vijnana maya kosha, the intellectual sheath. It is a function in the intellect that attributes to the self the qualities of the non-self. It's this indiscrimination, this lack of clear discrimination that is the superimposition that is problematic. It's kind of like if you see a world map that's flat and square. You look at Greenland and you look at South America, and they look like they're the same size. They're not. Or Africa. But if you have a globe, oh no, Greenland's much, much smaller. It just looked all stretched and spread out when you put it flat on the map. People can be confused. They are indiscriminate because of their lack of understanding. So this is my big problem. I think I'm a person. I think I'm the body, or I think I'm the subtle body, the individual who's driving this body around. If you're at a party and someone says, "Oh, tell me about yourself," what you probably do is tell them your job, tell them your relationship, maybe your schooling, where you grew up, your ethnicity, maybe some of your qualities. You have this degree or you flunked out of that or whatever. But nobody thinks to say, "Oh, I'm the ground of being. I'm the nectar of knowledge, homogeneous existence like the sky." They'd look at you funny if you said that. But that's the truth. So this blending, this adhyasa, this superimposing, even though it's based in ignorance and the ignorance is beginningless, it can be ended through jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge, over and over and over again. This is why meditation is essential. Slow down the mind. You need to get to the point where a thought arises out of silence and then goes back into silence before the next thought starts to arise. So there's some silence, some space. Then, with the attentive faculty turned within, notice who you are. It's completely clear in the space between the thoughts. And I see, no, I'm not a person. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm not the intellect. I'm not even this ego sense. Oh, who am I? Or as Shankara says in his beautiful hymn, Nirvana Shatakam, Chidananda Rupaham, Shivoham, Shivoham. My nature is bliss, consciousness, Chidananda. Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am pure awareness. I am auspicious. One more.
आत्मानो विक्रिया नास्ति बुद्धिर्बोधो न जात्विति जीवा सर्वमलं ज्ञात्वा ज्ञाता दृष्टेति मुह्यति. Atman never does anything, and the intellect on its own accord has no capacity to experience I know. But the individuality in us, due to delusion, thinks that it itself is the seer and the knower.
So, the functions of the intellect and the mind are essentially what we say jada, inert. I see a thought. I see a feeling. I see a memory. One thought doesn't know another thought. What is the mind? Mind is the awareness of thought flow, the awareness of feeling. We can call them vrittis. That's kind of a catch-all term. Mind is the awareness of vrittis. You have feelings. You have thoughts. You have memories. You do not have awareness as an object of cognition. You are awareness. But because of this confusion in the intellect, when the mind is upset or disturbed, I think I am upset. When the body's got an ache or a pain, I think I am sick. When my bank account goes down, I think I am going to be poor. I will fall into some abyss. I need to be protected in some way. I need to be defended. And in truth, nothing touches me. Don't believe me. But if I think I'm a person, this jiva bhavana, everything my mind presents to me is rooted in a delusion. It's back to our old snake and the rope. If I'm seeing a snake, then I got to be worried about antivenom. Where am I going to get antivenom? The snake's going to bite me. Dude, there's no snake there. It's a piece of rope. I need more money. I need a better job. I need this. I need that. Or the world, it needs to change. He and she needs to change. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not happy. So 2 English mantras I want to give you to leave with you tonight. I cannot think a real thought. Thoughts are just thoughts. They come and they go, they're impermanent. And no personal sense of self is real. And again, as we progress on the path, ego wraps itself in the path itself. I'm a spiritual person. I am a seeker after liberation. I am humble. All of that is based in ignorance. Drop it. Remember, you are Brahman. You don't need to be fixed. You need to drop all the effort. Now, in the early work that we do, yes, you want to be a mumukshu, seeker after liberation. You sublimate all your other desires into that. But as we get further on in the path, then even the mumukshu has to go. And you have no burdens. All right, we'll end here. And if you want to pull out your chant, we'll do our Purnamada chant. So did we learn this one yet? I don't think we did we? I'll chant a line and then you repeat it. Purnamada Purnamidam. Together, Purnamida Purnamidam. Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Purnameva Vashishyate. Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Do I have that in there?
No.
Okay. Hari Om, we just chant that, and then we go Sri Guru Pyo Namaha, my prostrations to all the gurus. So together, Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om.